Do you ever feel like you're constantly striving to be happy and successful, but never quite getting there? Like no matter how hard you try, you're left feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied? If so, you're not alone. But what if I told you that there's a better way? A way to let go of the constant pressure to be perfect, and instead focus on what really matters in life? Welcome back to our channel, Bookish Bliss. I am Jay, and today in this video we'll be exploring the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and how it can help you live a happier, more fulfilling life. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of why trying too hard to be happy can actually make you more unhappy, and how choosing what you care about can lead to a more meaningful life. So grab a pen and paper to note down all the key points in the book. And remember, the key to unlocking a more fulfilling life is not in trying harder, but in learning to let go. So stick around until the end. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Don't Try. Chapter 1 begins with a story about Manson's experience in college, where he became obsessed with self-help books and positive thinking. He believed that if he just tried hard enough and believed in himself, he could accomplish anything. However, this mentality eventually led to feelings of anxiety and inadequacy, as he was constantly striving for something that he couldn't attain. Manson then introduces the concept of the feedback loop from hell, which is the idea that when we try to avoid negative emotions, we'd actually create more of them. He uses the example of someone who is afraid of feeling anxious in social situations, so they avoid those situations altogether. This avoidance leads to a lack of experience and skill in social situations, which in turn makes them even more anxious the next time they find themselves in a social setting. This vicious cycle is the feedback loop from hell. Manson also introduces the concept of the subtle art of not giving a fuck, which is about choosing what we care about in life. He argues that we have a limited amount of fucks to give, so we should be selective about what we give them to. We should focus on the things that truly matter to us, and let go of the things that don't. Finally, Manson ends the chapter with a humorous and slightly profane explanation of the point of the book. He writes, "This book doesn't give a fuck about positive thinking. This book is about giving a fuck about the right things. Because when you give a fuck about the right things, you become free to focus on what really matters, on what actually deserves your attention." Chapter 2. Happiness is a Problem. In Chapter 2, Mark Manson begins by telling the story of Disappointment Panda, a character from his childhood who always seemed to be disappointed and sad. He uses this story to illustrate the idea that happiness is not something that can be pursued directly, but rather a byproduct of solving problems. Manson argues that we often think of happiness as a goal that we can achieve by doing certain things or having certain experiences, but this mindset can actually lead to greater levels of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. Instead, he suggests that we should focus on solving the problems in our lives, as this is what ultimately leads to a sense of fulfillment and contentment. Manson introduces the concept of negative feedback loops, which occur when our attempts to achieve happiness actually lead to greater levels of unhappiness. For example, constantly seeking pleasure or avoiding pain may provide temporary happiness, but it ultimately leads to feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction. Manson then emphasizes the importance of embracing negative emotions, such as sadness and anger, as they are an integral part of the human experience. He argues that emotions are not good or bad, but rather tools that can help us navigate the world and solve problems. Chapter 3. You Are Not Special. In this chapter, Mark Manson argues against the idea of exceptionalism and the belief that we are entitled to special treatment or success due to our uniqueness. He highlights the dangers of this mindset, including entitlement, arrogance, and an inability to handle failure or rejection. Manson emphasizes the importance of accepting the uncomfortable truth that we are not special or entitled to anything. This realization can be liberating, as it allows us to let go of the pressure to be exceptional and instead focus on personal growth and improvement. He also discusses the inevitability of failure and suffering in life, and the importance of embracing these experiences as opportunities for growth and learning. Manson acknowledges that life can be difficult and painful, but argues that the willingness to face these challenges is what makes us truly exceptional. Chapter 4. The Value of Suffering. In Chapter 4, Mark Manson begins by arguing that pain and suffering are an inevitable part of life. He suggests that our attempts to avoid or escape suffering can actually lead to greater levels of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. Manson introduces the concept of the shit sandwich, which refers to the unavoidable difficulties and unpleasant aspects of any pursuit or endeavor. He argues that the key to success and fulfillment is not to avoid the shit sandwich, but rather to embrace it and find meaning and purpose in the struggle. Manson also emphasizes the importance of saying no to things that do not align with our values or goals. He argues that the ability to say no is a critical part of setting boundaries and prioritizing what truly matters in our lives. Chapter 5. You are always choosing. In this chapter, Mark Manson argues that every decision we make is a choice, and that every choice involves trade-offs. He emphasizes the importance of being aware of the choices we make and the consequences that come with them. Manson discusses the concept of values and how they underlie everything we do. He argues that understanding our values is crucial to making good decisions and living a fulfilling life. He encourages readers to take the time to reflect on their values and priorities and to align their choices with them. He also challenges the idea that nothing is always better than something, suggesting that this mentality can lead to a fear of commitment and an unwillingness to take risks. Manson argues that making choices, even if they are imperfect, is ultimately better than making no choice at all. Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. In this chapter, Mark Manson challenges the idea of certainty and encourages readers to be more open-minded and humble in their beliefs. He argues that everyone is wrong about something and that acknowledging our fallibility is the key to personal growth and understanding. Manson introduces the concept of architects of our own beliefs, suggesting that our beliefs are not simply a reflection of reality, but are constructed by our own biases and experiences. He warns against the dangers of pure certainty, which can lead to dogmatism and closed-mindedness. Manson also introduces Manson's law of avoidance, which suggests that the more something threatens our beliefs or sense of self, the more likely we are to avoid it or reject it outright. To counteract these tendencies, Manson encourages readers to kill themselves, metaphorically speaking, by letting go of their attachment to their beliefs and embracing uncertainty. He provides several tips on how to be more open-minded and less certain of oneself, including practicing empathy, seeking out diverse perspectives, and learning to say, I don't know. Chapter 7. Failure is the way forward to failure. In this chapter, Mark Manson challenges the conventional notion of success and argues that failure is actually an essential part of the process. He suggests that our fear of failure often holds us back and prevents us from taking the necessary risks to achieve our goals. Manson introduces the failure-success paradox, which suggests that the more we pursue success, the more likely we are to fail. This is because success requires taking risks and trying new things, which inevitably leads to mistakes and setbacks. Manson also emphasizes the importance of embracing pain and discomfort as part of the process of achieving success. He argues that pain is not something to be avoided, but rather something to be embraced and used as motivation to keep moving forward. To overcome our fear of failure, Manson introduces the do something principle. This principle encourages readers to take action, even if it's not the perfect action or if it might lead to failure. By taking small steps towards our goals, we can build momentum and gain confidence in our ability to overcome obstacles. Chapter 8. The importance of saying no. In this chapter, Mark Manson discusses the importance of setting boundaries and learning to say no to things that do not align with our values or priorities. He argues that saying no is essential to living a fulfilling life and achieving our goals. Manson introduces the idea that rejection can actually make our lives better by helping us clarify our values and priorities. By saying no to things that do not align with these values, we can create space for the things that truly matter to us. To effectively say no, Manson suggests that we need to have strong boundaries. Boundaries help us to define what is and are not acceptable in our lives, and can help us avoid burnout and overwhelm. He also emphasizes the importance of building trust with ourselves and others, as this can help us feel more confident in our ability to set and maintain boundaries. Finally, Manson suggests that true freedom comes through commitment. By committing to our values and priorities, we can create a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. Saying no to things that do not align with these commitments can help us live a more intentional and fulfilling life. Chapter 9. And then you die. In this final chapter, Mark Manson explores the topic of death and how our awareness of our own mortality can shape our lives. He argues that accepting the inevitability of death can help us live a more fulfilling life. Manson introduces the idea that there is something beyond ourselves that gives meaning to our lives. He suggests that our mortality can help us recognize the importance of living a life that is aligned with our values and priorities. The author also discusses the concept of memento mori, which is the practice of reflecting on our own mortality. By acknowledging that our time on this earth is limited, we can become more present at the moment and appreciate the people and experiences in our lives. Manson also explores the idea that death can have a sunny side. By recognizing that our time on this earth is limited, we can become more motivated to make the most of the time we have. He argues that the fear of death can also be a powerful motivator to take action toward our goals and aspirations. That's it for this video. We hope you found it valuable and informative. Remember, life is not about avoiding problems or seeking constant happiness. It's about choosing which problems to face and finding meaning and purpose in the process. It's not accepting that you're not special, but that you still have a unique contribution to make to the world. Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And if you want to learn more about the topics covered in this video, we highly recommend checking out the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. The link is in description. Thank you for watching.